So it is going to be Zunniyaki, Jahmilli, and Starship going up against Novoz, Thugonomics, and that is, oh wow, okay, so he's going to be actually playing Druid. He's not going to be playing that Monk, which is, which is a change that makes sense. Like we said, that CC is very tough to deal with. But at the same time, he's not going to be as experienced on this, and that can really start to show through when you play against the very elite players.
Yeah, I've been watching them play this for a while online, and with the Resto Druid, he seems pretty comfortable. Obviously, you get a variable skill level of teams with this, so it'll be interesting if this is his first huge matchup on Resto Druid.
Yeah, I mean, he's obviously more than good enough to play, at a very high level, but it's when you're playing the best people in the world that it becomes different. They don't allow you to make those little mistakes, and we'll see if they're going to be able to capitalize on that. And I just think that we're going to have to be watching a lot of Dannycarey and seeing how he's going to be able to handle this, because if they can't keep them back, then maybe it's not going to work out so well for them. But Thugonomics still going to be playing that Destro spec, no changes there. We can see the CS coming out onto him immediately. It'll be interesting to see who Jahmilli and them want to set up on with alter time and everything coming out immediately, but just able to pour it out of there. So really, early on, that alter time and the orb didn't really get much of anything done, but he is unleashing those icicle procs now, doing a lot of damage with that onto Novoz. Novoz going to get silenced up as well. The Iron Bark's already there, though. Clone comes out across onto Thugonomics. So we see the ring, rather the sheep cannot come off that deep, because a nice shift came in by Dannycarey there. He was able to get in bear form. Good job.
Yeah, that was a great job. Excellent defensive play by Blacksmith Hammer equip right there. There was a lot of cooldowns used. You already see Zunniyaki having to trinket. Starship in the clone right now. Trying to really push up and help his team out, as you saw Dannycarey's, named Adam Jones during this match that was healing. They're both playing very passively, the Resto Druids, obviously choosing to sit around their pillar, having their mushroom placed in, opportune locations.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, we do see that there is that kind of that AoE slow that Adam Jones is playing with, that is Dannycarey. It's so confusing when people do that. But Jahmilli, taking a little bit of damage here, and he's going to have to be very careful, because, if Destro Ellie connects to him at any time, he could just get erased. He's going to be unleashing those icicles, though, onto Thugonomics. We do see the Devouring Plague coming out as well. Silence over onto Dannycarey, and Thugonomics is in somewhat of a bad situation right now. But with the CC ending over onto their Druid, it looks like he is going to be okay. And Chaos Bolt is coming out now, and it's going to land onto Jahmilli, but he is pre-healing. Actually, it's going to be over onto Zunniyaki. He's down about half HP, but he's going to be just fine.
Yeah, that Chaos Bolt actually did less damage than I thought to Jahmilli. He saw it coming, luckily. Zunniyaki did take a lot of damage. It was probably a little bit over a third of his life right there. Even though those numbers are huge, Zunniyaki has 600k hit points this season.
Yeah, I mean, with that full gear, it's a whole different story. The numbers are higher, but so is the HP. Sean Rage being forced out there by Novoz. I think he thought damage was going to happen. That wasn't really coming in. And we do see that the damage is going to come out on Thugonomics now. Thugonomics is going to be in some trouble. He does pour it out of there, though. And he has that Symbiosis Rejuve as well. So, he is spamming that up. It does look like Chaos Bolt going to be coming out over onto Zunniyaki. He tries to fake that CS. Was he able to do it? We'll find out as he does come out of it. Is he going to be able to cast? And looks like he did fake it, so good job by him. Starship, just kind of throwing out those rejuves everywhere. The Chaos Bolt is going to come in onto Zunniyaki, but really not too much of a big deal there. He wasn't dipping too low, and Starship actually in cat form going to sit down for a drink. Even though Zunniyaki is at half HP, he knows that he's not really under any threat because of the positioning in this match. And when you look over at Jahmilli, he wants to do some damage right now. He has 5 icicles stacked. He's been sitting on them for a while, and they're going to be looking for the Devouring Plague and unleashing these icicles. The double coil comes out, but they're not going to have that for the defensive purposes now if they do go aggressive.
Ooh, there goes the Chaos Bolt right there on Zunniyaki, but Starship, able to completely top off. They're catching his team back up. Bash onto Zunniyaki, who's going to trinket it immediately because he was a little bit out into the open. As you can see, I like the defensive play that of the team of Blacksmith Hammer. They're really playing that pillar center area, but Thugonomics taking a lot of damage right now from that Devouring Plague. He's sitting right on top of the mushroom, however.
So he had an even Dark Bargain there, man. That's actually shocking that much damage came out onto him. I actually can't believe that they were able to spike him down that fast after they put in all the damage on Novoz, and Novoz is being swapped right back over onto. And I mean, they use the Deep Freeze and most of the icicles onto Novoz, but at the same time, Thugonomics is just getting crushed, and now Novoz Novoz doesn't have that Shaman Rage, and there's the sheep onto Dannycarey. He has to trinket it. Trinket comes out from Novoz as well, but he is Devouring Plagued up. The Tranquility coming out should be able to keep him alive, but now no trinket on anyone on this team. And if they're able to get the proper setup, I think they could be able to get a kill here pretty soon. The Hex comes out onto Starship. That's an NS Hex. The Coil comes out to deny the decurse, and now that clone is going to have to be triggered there by Starship, as Jahmilli was getting very, very low there. He's going to be able to pull back, though, catches those heals. Temporal was popped. Now the offensive clone there coming in from Dannycarey, so good job trying to get something going here. But, Shaman Rage almost back up for Novoz, and, they haven't been able to take advantage of that window of opportunity. So it'll be interesting to see if they're just going to go right back on Thugonomics, because, I imagine that has to be the case since they didn't want to go on to Novoz with no Shaman Rage. Yeah, without any of those cooldowns, Thugonomics is going to be in trouble the next time they swap. You saw how fast that damage came, even without any huge cooldowns. Obviously Devouring Plague using up all of his Shadow Orbs. But Thug, doing a bunch of damage. That last Chaos Bolt we saw him attempt on Jahmilli. Jahmilli actually trinketed and blinked just to not be hit by the Shadow Bolt, or the Chaos Bolt. Yeah, and that's kind of one of the things that Jahmilli likes to do. He plays very kind of fancy sometimes like that, sometimes overly so. But the trinket you're going to be used on the silence, and Novoz is going to get out of there. But it's very common to see him do that, and he is so good at playing aggressively like that. He's able to get away with it a lot of the time. And, he likes to ice block offensively, trinket things offensively, just tries to go all in and get as much damage out as possible, kind of similar to Mitch Jones in that manner. But Thugonomics is getting pretty low. They're going to throw out a couple Ember Taps, I do believe, catching some big heals from his Druid as well. The clone comes in from Starship, but a little bit too late to really stop him from getting healed back off. Yeah, and Thug constantly trying to sneak out those Chaos Bolts. He was full locked by Jahmilli on the first one. Second one was cycloned by Starship, so they're doing a great job of controlling Thug. You can definitely tell he has all those Embers getting ready to try to toss out some Chaos Bolts. His Havoc should be up pretty soon, actually. I like to see that he's using the Havoc Mortal Coils to try to set up pressure. Yeah, it's very nice. I believe you get the double heal from it as well, which is kind of a nice little added benefit. Not the biggest deal in the world, but still pretty nice. The Chaos Bolt going to come in onto Zunniyaki, and Incinerate's following that up as well. He's getting kind of low, down to about half HP, but with the positioning on Starship, I don't think he's really in any trouble. Deep Freeze into the ring comes out onto Adam Jones, and now the damage is going to be coming out hard on Thugonomics, and it doesn't seem like he's in range of his port, but the Death Coil comes out. There's that Havoc Chaos Bolt that we were talking about. Jahmilli dipping down to about half HP, getting pretty low, and he has to be careful. Like we talked about yesterday, anytime you get in Shadowburn range, you're probably dead. A crit Shadowburn is a guaranteed kill. Doesn't really matter what you do, you're just dead. And even a non-crit is a very high chance of going down here. Oh, it definitely is. So you have to be really, really careful about that. But Thugonomics, thankfully for him, has lived, and his Dark Bargain is back up now. So he's kind of made it out of the woods. Yeah, he only has 50 seconds on his regen too. So basically everything is going to be up for him. So, I expect to see a lot of damage out of him, in the next minute, once he gets that Dark Soul back up. If he can land that huge damage from the Chaos Bolt, with all those cooldowns on it, that could be the end of this team. Yeah, and the Icicles do come out there from Jahmilli onto Novoz, but not too much happening with that. Chaos Bolt going to land onto Jahmilli from Thugonomics there, but really didn't take too much damage on that side either. The Sheep coming out on Novoz going to be dispelled off immediately, and Thugonomics sitting pretty right now. He's actually the trinket comes out from Starship on a Death Quill. I don't know why he did that, but he's going to get cloned right on it. So a nice play there by Dannycarey, and maybe Starship was trying to get a little bit aggressive, but Starship now going to be bashed off that. So some great CC coming out here from Dannycarey, but it looks like they're not really able to get anything from it. Now the clone going to be turned around onto Dannycarey. Deep Freeze comes out on Thugonomics, and now the Alter Time from Jahmilli trying to put that damage out on Thugonomics. The Iron Bark comes out onto him, though. He's going to pour it out of there, and we're kind of settling into what could be a very long game. Yeah, Thug's offensive pressure completely negated right there. He did add the Demon Soul up, the on-use trinket, basically everything he could have done to enhance those Chaos Bolts. And it was a great CC chain onto Starship also, but still, as Novoz, look at that, taking a lot of damage, just got Psychic Horde, and having to use Shamanistic Rage also, but with a clone on to Dannycarey, this is a great job. Oh, a nice offensive clone on Novoz, and if they get set up off this, they could actually win the game right here. If they can get the CC, there's the sounds coming out, and that may be all they need. We'll see. He's going to get out of there, though. But Novoz held that Shaman Rage very late. He was trying to, kind of pinch it off and get away without using it, and just like, okay, well, that was a terrible but anyway, trying to get away without using it, but, he was forced to, and he almost paid for it. He almost paid for it with his life because of that beautiful offensive clone from Starship, but the Gateway able to keep him alive, and that is, one of the biggest strengths of Warlocks is having that gateway for your team. The silence came out, he just gated out of there, and that's able to keep him alive.
And the coil gets immediately trinketed by Zunniyaki. I assume that he thought he was going to be in trouble. There we go.
Now the Ascendants, though, yeah, they're going to be putting out big pressure here on Zunniyaki, and Zunniyaki just getting tunneled away on by Novoz. He's going to be sheeped up now, but even with the Ascendants and the Demon Soul and everything being popped, they just weren't able to get the damage that they needed to really even force a cooldown. No disperse, no block, nothing coming out there.
That was even Stormlash too, so that was a lot of cooldowns used for that pressure. Zunniyaki, I like that instant trinket. It was a great job because he was kind of caught out in the middle by himself, plus the offensive, or plus the clone onto Starship too. It was a great setup by Blacksmith Hammers.
Yeah, it definitely was. But one of the things that you have to always worry about with this team is that you obviously know you have to be careful during the cooldowns. And sometimes the funny thing is the cooldowns can be like the least scary part almost, because you know to react to it. But damage coming out could be so surprising. Sometimes it just kind of like damage out of nowhere with procs and everything. You can get bursted down in Shadowrun range, and that could be it. So you have to always be careful. And we do see the Shadowrun range is going to be forced out there from Novoz, and Novoz is going to be without that for quite some time. We see the Chaos Bolts coming out. Zunniyaki into Shadowrun range. Has to be very careful. The Shadowrun comes out. He is able to pre-disperse it, though. That's the only reason he stayed alive, and that is the damage that I'm talking about, man. So high, and there weren't really cooldowns even popped for that. So they were able to get him down, and had he not got that disperse off, he would have been dead.
Yeah, that was crazy. I mean, he must have saw the Chaos Bolt coming, knowing that he would dip down that low. It's that kind of like, you have to know in this situation based on how much damage that Chaos Bolt is going to do, whether you're going to be put into damage kill range or not, as that orb on top of Novoz having to stand in the middle of that ring and just tank that damage, plus all those fingers.
Oh, look at Zunniyaki, though. The coil comes out onto him. The Chaos Bolt has landed. He's trying to get out of there. He may be into Shadowrun range, though. He's got to be very careful. Catches a big heal from Starship, who did meld the CC there very nicely, but now he's going to be cloned up. Zunniyaki, though, has already been healed off. We did see that Heart of the Wild was popped there defensively from Starship, so we'll see if they can actually turn it around and make a use of it offensively after this, now that they have topped him back off, because you definitely don't want to waste that Heart of the Wild. They want to get the most out of it. It's so strong both offensively and defensively, and now we see that they are going to be going for that damage onto Dannycarey. But with the Barkskin popped, he's going to be okay.
Yeah, he's just going to get back into his position. I have to say, both Druids doing an excellent job playing those pillars, using the line of sight, staying out of kill range, or they are never, ever a kill target so far during this match. And here we go. Some big numbers coming out from Thug right now. Could be, as he does get cycloned immediately, too, with that on-use trinket. They're doing a great job of stopping every single time that you see him step up and try to set up that damage. Yeah, definitely. We see Jahmilli with those 5 icicles. Once again, he wants to go for some burst here. And who will the target be? Will it be this Druid, perhaps? But he's actually going to get chunked down pretty low, down to about half HP. Yeah, and it is going to be the Druid. He doesn't have that Barkskin available. And there's the Orb. The Deep Freeze comes out. The icicles being unleashed. But really, Zunniyaki wasn't there. And Jahmilli just kind of went on a solo mission. And, it wasn't going to pay off. He was able to be topped off, And it's honestly kind of starting to look to me like it's going in the LSD's favor. They're the ones getting more of the kill opportunities, whereas earlier it was really looking like Jahmilli and Zunniyaki were getting much more pressure, almost killing off Thugonomics over and over, but now it seemed to have really slowed down. Yeah, and this Ascendance hit by Novoz, really odd choice to use Ascendance right here. It actually almost paid off with Jahmilli. He was constantly casting the lava burst out onto Jahmilli, but Jahmilli was LOSing almost every single one of them, so that entire Ascendance did bring Jahmilli down, but I don't think it forced anything out of the enemy team. Yeah, he did just block that death coil, though, and that's one of the things he wanted to block that and just stay offensive, and we'll see if it's going to pay off. They're going hard onto Novoz, and there's no trinket onto Dannycarey. He has just used that recently, but it looks like he's going to be okay. But do you think they can capitalize? Perhaps maybe they want to swap over onto Jahmilli, or do you think they should just stay onto Zunniyaki, even though Jahmilli is using that ice block offensively like that? I don't know. This is a tough call at this point, because even without blocks, Starship is going to be able to heal him up every single time. Although Nature's Swiftness is still down right now, plus Iron Bark, so this might be the time to do it. Yeah, definitely could try to go for that, but Hypothermia has ended, so I don't know if he snapped or if he has the second block available, but if he doesn't, he could be in some trouble now as the Hexa Bash comes out. Oh, very close there to getting a kill, and now that means with the offensive block and this one having to be used, he has no blocks right now, and that's something he's going to have to be scared of. That was Demon Soul from Thugonomics, and they were able to get some big damage out there with great CC coming out from Dannycarey onto Starship. Starship does have his trinket available still. The double Death Coil comes out. Are they going to be able to connect here? A nice Fear defensively coming out, though, from Zunniyaki. Shuts down most of that damage. Starship
Starship still with his trinket available. Thugonomics has not been able to get in there and land as many fears as he would like on a Starship.
No, not at all. We did see a bunch of trinkets come out right there. Of course, Thug used it to stay offensive. Same with Novoz. Those are some smart calls right there. They really put a lot of pressure out on Jahmilli and almost scored a kill because of it.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, he's not going to have that block for quite some time. So if they can get aggressive here, if they can get that CC on a Starship, force the trinket out, perhaps they could get a kill before the ice block comes back up. There's the CS on a Thugonomics, so they're trying to get the damage rolling on him, but it just has not seemed very effective ever since the start. Really no one has been in trouble besides Novoz lately. And Novoz now, there's the silence, there's the Devouring Plague. He cannot use that Shamanistic Rage just yet, but a nice fear comes out from Thugonomics, going to shut down the damage coming in. Jahmilli not able to connect at the same time, but now he's going to pop the Alter Time. He's going to be putting out big pressure, but the offensive clone comes in, and it seems like a bit of a miscommunication there, and now they're going to swap it over onto Thugonomics. We'll see if this is going to pay off for them. Thugonomics is just kind of trying to pull back. Jahmilli going for that healing touch with the symbiosis. He's going to land it, top himself back off. So it's a nice usage of that, mixing it in and just trying to kind of min-max every little thing he can.
Yeah, it's Jahmilli taking a bunch of damage right now. Chaos Bolt coming out onto 2 targets, I do believe. Nope, it was just Jahmilli as he does get cloned.
Oh, there's the offensive clone, though, from Dannycarey. And will they be able to CC Starship before he heals him back off? Doesn't look like it. And the Shroom is available if he needed it. But Zunniyaki in a lot of trouble now. Zunniyaki getting pretty low here. Going to be able to get back out of LOS, though. DR clone comes out onto Jahmilli. But just waiting to see what this setup is going to be. There's the deep freeze. Is it going to be into a ring? No, deep freeze into the poly. They have the silence available here for Zunniyaki. MCS comes out on Novoz. Novoz could be in some big trouble here. Jahmilli getting some big damage done onto him. Zunniyaki is CS right now. The Chaos Bolt comes in onto Jahmilli and Zunniyaki, both of them getting pretty low. And Zunniyaki in deep right now. He has to be a bit careful with this about where he's positioned, and Jahmilli as well. Jahmilli taking a ton of damage right now, dipping down to 170k briefly there before Starship could pick him back up. But I mean, look at the mana on Starship, and then look over at Dannycarey. Dannycarey is basically full mana. Starship's starting to struggle here. Fear Ward going to be reapplied, but Starship is maybe going to have to go for a drink, and if they could shut that down, they can maybe get something done because he's at 20k mana. Novo's getting very low there as well, but they're being forced back. Tranquility comes out, and I think he has to drink off this. He's going to look for it.
Yeah, I mean, he's healing on fumes right now. Druid can sustain for a long time with those cheap heals, but there are times when he's definitely going to have to put out that burst healing. And I think that Blacksmith the Hammer is just doing a great job of constantly switching targets and constantly putting out pressure every time they can. And it's paying off with the mana bar. There we go. Now Innervate comes out. Both Jahmilli and Zunniyaki still have their trinkets available.
Yeah, and Starship has his as well. So, I mean, it does get about 60,000 mana back. It looks like Zunniyaki maybe have DC'd, perhaps?
It's definitely possible. I mean, I don't think his positioning is that great right now.
Yeah.
So I would say that is not intentional. But what a great match so far. Constant back and forth. I really like that the Resto Druids are even getting involved in this, even though most of the time, if we just watch the DPS constantly and you lose track of the healers and you're not watching for where they are, because as you can see, the healer both on the left side of your screen and the far back right side, that's how they've been playing this entire time. They're doing a great job of moving the mushrooms around. Oh yeah, so one of the things that I've been noticing, watching streams and watching some tournament play and stuff since the addition of shrooms, is it doesn't seem like shrooms are killed that often. If you don't have the glyph, there's no way of telling where the shroom is specifically, but with this, it's like a giant target.
Yeah, and unfortunately, Zunniyaki does get DC'd out there, so I think that is going to be the first point going to Blacksmith Hammer, Equip. Unfortunately, not the way you want to see that game end, but looks like that's how it's going to go down. But yeah, no, it is true that people probably don't kill them off as much as they should. Some people I play with and everything, are all about it, and I think it is definitely worth killing. And it's something that I like to try to do. But it can in certain matches it can be very difficult to do.
Oh yeah,
because
absolutely.
you have to stand on the shroom for a while before it actually reveals. So when you're under a lot of pressure and you're taking a lot of damage from a team, or perhaps they're just positioning it well, they're putting it behind boxes and stuff, you can't always afford to run in behind the box and wait for it to reveal. So you kind of have to wait for them to put it in a bit of a worse spot. But then in other matches, you're the kind of the aggressor and you can just constantly kill them off. And I think it's good to do if you can, because fully stacked shroom can be
it's lay on hands.
Yeah.
Hands down.
Yeah.
Full heal every single
exactly.
time. Yeah.
So.
What's funny is I've actually seen hunters start to recognize this and flare. Yoski, I think, flares every single one. It's so funny to see that.
Yeah, he's all about that, man. They're like, it makes a big difference. Like you said, it's a free heal, and being able to kill that off can be the difference between Druid having trinket and not trinket. That's like, it seems like a little thing, but it's not. It makes a huge difference, and it's a similar to killing off totems and stuff from shamans. A lot of these cleave teams and stuff. The totem HP a lot of those kind of things get weaker and weaker as expansions go on because the HP doesn't really scale as well as the damage does. So like you have Healing Tide and stuff like that can just get one shot by some of these cleavers, you know. So it's like killing off Healing Tides and Spirit Links and healing streams constantly.
Siphons die instantly right now. Novoz killed at least 3 of them during that match, and sometimes like the second that it appeared, you know, Zunniyaki tosses it down, you see it start to form, and it's dead. You know, you see him targeting a dead Siphon at that point.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like as an Affliction Warlock, you can even kill Siphons with like 2 Fel Flames. Everyone knows how terrible Fel Flames are. It's like, you're like, so those things don't have very much HP. I mean, you know, trying to kill a Healing Tide is sometimes the most depressing thing ever with Fel Flame. It takes like 8 Fel Flames, I think, to kill a Healing Tide, maybe 9. But you still can definitely kill other things. And you know, people are realizing more and more how worthwhile it is to do it. You know, especially when you're playing like a direct damage thing. That's one of the advantages of playing Destro. You know, like Thug can flag one and it's dead. Things like that, or a Backlash and it's dead. And, you know, and when you're fighting against Holy Priest, you can kill off Light Wells and so on and so forth. So. Anyway, that is going to be a 1-0 lead, I do believe, for Blacksmith and Equip. So they're going to be 1 game away from knocking Juice down to the lower bracket. And when you're fighting against a team with the burst potential of these guys, it's pretty scary, man, to be 1 game away from elimination. Because even if you play perfectly, it's hard to always
we saw, if Zunniyaki for some reason did not have Dispersion right there, he would have been dead. I mean, Shadowburn doesn't have travel time. It doesn't have a cast time. I mean, he had to wait for that Chaos Bolt damage to land before he Shadowburned. But still, I mean, that was he saw the Chaos Bolt coming. You do have a little bit of travel time, you know, to play with and stuff like that. But, you know, that was quick reaction times. And he's playing from Europe, too. Yeah. So that's, I mean, I do believe this server is going to be a West Coast server.
I'm not sure.
Not 100% sure on that, but
even
if it's central, you know, that's he's going to be playing with at least 200 MS.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. So definitely can be tough, but you know, if anyone can do it, he can. You know, he's definitely a good player. And it's one of the it's nice to see a European player joining the tournament because traditionally the European teams have not really been a fan of playing with ping. You know, you see a lot of the kind of North American teams playing in the European tournaments, but usually not so much the other way around. So I'm glad that he has joined up. It's nice to see the European community represented here. Definitely a fantastic player and a really nice guy.
Absolutely. You know, Dannycarey generally playing a Mistweaver Monk, right?
Yeah.
Do you think this was a good move going over to Resto Druid?
It looked good. I mean, I thought he was gonna look a lot worse than he did. He looked damn good in that game.
Yeah. Looks like we're heading into the second match right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that you're never sure how comfortable someone is going to be on these alt classes. Some people swap in on tournaments and they look just amazing, and you're like, wow, that was smart. And then other times someone swaps in on alt and you just look like a clown. You know, we used to see it all the time at MLG.
Yep.
People would swap in, and you know, maybe they had practiced a lot, maybe they hadn't, but sometimes you practice a ton. And the players you're playing against just aren't up to that level.
I would say historically, anyone who switched onto a Rep Paladin, other than Vanguards, it didn't go
all the 3 DPS stuff. Yeah. Oh god, that was ridiculous. But it is going to be a very close map this time around. They don't want that gateway to be so effective, and instantly Jahmilli leaves the game. So it must have been some sort of UI problem or something that was before the 45-second mark. So I imagine it's just a replay. Right. Perhaps Zunniyaki said, I'm lagging a bit, and Jahmilli just left. I mean, I think that's the smart thing to do. If there is a problem, don't let the game start going, you know what I mean? Because it's like, if there's an issue, it's way better that before anything happens, you leave and you address it than kind of like let it go a couple seconds. Because then even if you leave at 40 seconds and it's still before the DC marker, it can look a little suspect. You're like, well, I don't know. Exactly. Like, you know.
Opener didn't go well.
Yeah,
Let's
exactly.
restart this.
Yeah, so, you know, I think that's a smart move. Just get out of there, fix your problems, and you know, they'll be given a set amount of time and whatever. So hopefully there's no issues. No one wants to see a game end on a DC or on some sort of UI error or something clowny like that. So hopefully it's all sorted out very quickly.
Yeah, and I mean, I would say that this, even though the World of Warcraft community online, if you are sitting at home and you read something like, you know, you read Arena Junkies or you read the WoW forums and stuff, and there's a lot of, you know, it's a pretty harsh community to get into.
It is.
And I mean, that's understating it a lot too. But I mean, even though you do see people talking about these huge grudges between players, which sometimes are completely fabricated, which is hilarious. But it's great to see that, you know, I don't think that Thug and his team are going to be like, well, that was kind of shady that he did right there. And it probably was. Zunniyaki saying, hey, I'm lagging, you know, let's pull out right now.
Well, yeah.
And so they're not going to be like, oh, they're doing shady stuff. They want to play in a good tournament, you know?
Yeah, of course. And I mean, we saw that, like, I mean, they left instantly. Nothing had happened. That game, there was no complaining about that game being restarted. And obviously, I don't think they would have complained anyway because they were graciously waiting on the DC in the previous game anyway. So it's it's not like they were looking to get a cheap win or anything like that. But honestly, I wouldn't even blame teams if they take wins on DCs.
Oh, well,
it's like it is very it's great sportsmanship. Don't get me wrong that people want to do this, but it's not like it's in the rules or something, so you can't really exactly vilify people. And one of the funniest examples of this that I've ever seen was Dak Roth. So shout out to Dak Roth. I don't know if that guy's still watching or whatever, but it was hilarious. And it was in an EU tournament that I was commentating, and there had been some DCs, and it was basically the same deal. It was kind of up to the players if they wanted to wait or not. And so up to that point in the tournament, every player had waited. And so someone DC's on a team against a team that Dak Roth is playing, and he's playing his Wrestler Shaman. And he immediately runs over to the guy, starts casting Lava Burst on the DC player, and then screams, "Play to win," and just kills him off. And it was the healer on the other team that was DC'd, so of course he killed him. It was absolutely hilarious. It was just like...
Well, like you said, too, it's hard to show that good sportsmanship when there's $10,000 in prize, on the line. That's really rough to, just sit out and wait for a DC.
Yeah, because nobody's going to, there are definitely people that'll call, "Oh, you didn't wait on the DC or whatever," but it's a tournament, man. I don't think I see both sides of it, and I don't think anyone's going to call people out and get on their case and stuff for not doing it. This is just like, we know these guys, we play against them online all the time. We have close, nice matches. This is a great match. Really get to prove myself in this. And
well, and I think especially as the tournament goes later, you may
of course,
see that less.
In
round one, teams might be pretty friendly, but if you're in the last game of the finals and you're playing for first place and they DC, do you wait? I don't know, man. I don't know if I would wait.
That's a tough question.
I might be yelling "Play to win" and casting that Lava Burst, but it's up to all the players. So they got to do what feels right to them.
Right, exactly. We're heading into the next match right now.
Of course, it is going to be on Dalaran Tours again. Going to replay the last choice. What do you think about this map choice for the team of Juice? You think it's smart playing that close offensive?
I think it is, and I also think that it's playing against the Shatter play, I guess as it's called, the Mage Shadow Priest Druid team. It's almost impossible to kill them on this map because the boxes are such a strong point to LOS at. That I think that basically all you're going to see here from Jahmilli, Starship, and Zunniyaki is they're going to go full EU, and they're just going to turtle on the boxes, and they're
full EU.
Yeah, they're going full EU, dude. And and basically, every minute or so when orb is up or deep is up, they're going to come out and they're going to try to set something up. They're going to try to burst someone down. As soon as that's back, they're going to go back behind the pillar, and they're just going to come out, try to force cooldown, go back behind the pillar, repeat.
Yep,
until eventually they force out all the cooldowns and hopefully can get a kill.
Yeah, and knockoffs on this map not as wow. Look at all that damage straight from the start onto Zunniyaki. We saw lots and lots of lava bursts being cast from Novoz with that Chaos Bolt landing too. Starship in that clone. This is a great start for Blacksmith Hammer.
Yeah, it definitely is, and we see Zunniyaki popping up now, trying to build up those orbs. The Mind Blast coming out. Jahmilli taking some damage though, and Thugonomics gets that good gateway from box to box, which is very, very important. And we do see that that's something that a lot of the best locks will always do. Changing that gateway, getting into a better position as the situation does change. So very, very smart play from him. We do see that Zunniyaki pushing in, looking to try to get this kind of aggressive play going, but he's going to be feared off, and Jahmilli's the one taking the damage right now.
Yeah, and able to be top to back up, no CC onto Starship. Zunniyaki eating that capacitor totem. If he's gonna get push, or if he's gonna push up, he's gonna get punished by that. That ring dropped down, but was able to be knocked away before it cast. I do believe. No, it looks like that might be real. But Novo's taking a lot of damage. We see that Devouring Plague tossed out onto him with a sheep onto Dannycarey plus a clone onto Thug. They just sat through it though. Followed by a bash. Lots of crowd control coming out. Another sheep onto Thug plus a fear onto. This is lots of CC coming out, but good job of Dannycarey tossing out that clone onto Starship.
Yeah, definitely really nice job, and Novo's really the one taking most of the pressure right now. And so far they're doing a good job staying aggressive here, and they are kind of the ones actually, being the aggressors. They're chasing these guys back and forth, and the boxes are very, very strong for mages and Shadow Priests because you can catch everyone in the Novas, you can catch everyone in the orbs, and those AoE fears and everything. But the death coil does come out on Zunniyaki, the fear onto Starship, and Jahmilli the one getting a little bit in trouble right now. But he is going to catch the Iron Bark, he is going to pop the Temporal Shield, and will be healed right back up. And now that clone going to come out onto Thugonomics on his Demon Soul. and it looks like he's content to just sit through it. Doesn't feel like he really had a kill opportunity, so he's going to hold that trinket. Doesn't want to waste it.
Yeah, they completely negated that entire Demon's Soul push right there, plus his unused trinket. He tries to start casting again, and immediately is going to be counterspelled on that cast. So they're doing a great job of locking Thug down, and that's really, he's the huge initiator for this team.
They did force the trinket there from Novoz, though. He got silenced and feared, and he's actually going to trinket both. He didn't want to sit through that, and couldn't obviously tremor. Now the trinket comes out from Zunniyaki. I'm not quite sure what that was on. Maybe some sort of a fear or something that he did trinket. But anyway, Zunniyaki did trinket that, and not going to have that available. So has to be a bit careful here. We do see the Halotera landing on both Jahmilli and Zunniyaki, and they are going to have to sit through this. And now perhaps is going to be the time when they want to try to pull back. Oh my God, wow. That burst onto Jahmilli. He goes from full to about 180K and had to block out immediately. But we do see he's still in a bad spot. I mean, he is separated from his team, and if they can connect onto him, maybe they can make something happen. But he's not feeling too scared right now, but maybe he should be, man. As the Chaos Bolt comes in, he's down to 200K. This might be it. Did he overextend? The big heal comes in from Starship. I believe that wasn't NS coming out from Starship. Now the offensive clone, and Jahmilli, kind of overstaying his welcome on the corner there a little bit. Now going to have to trinket as well. Going to be feared up. Can they set up on him? Yeah,
this isn't good. I mean, look at the trinket use coming from that, possible misplay. We saw him try to blink away from that Chaos Bolt, but Thug knew it was coming. He was actually standing on the edge of the platform to make sure that he wouldn't be out of LOS the entire time.
Yeah, but he's going to be fine for now. Some good healing from Starship, and Jahmilli knowing his limits, knowing he could survive that situation. We see the deep freeze coming out on Thugonomics, and they're going to try to turn it around. The bash comes out on Novoz. There's the fear, so the tremor cannot come down because he has bash, and Adam Jones going to be stuck in that. The late tremor does come down, but now he's going to be cloned off that, and the sheep comes over across onto Novoz. Great cross CC here coming out from Juice, and we do see the MCS coming out onto both players with that Havoc. Nice play there from Thugonomics, and does land a Chaos Bolt, but this one not too effective. It was into Ironbark, and he didn't have Demon Soul up, so really not doing much of anything. But at the same time, Zunniyaki, was dipping down a little bit. He's just kind of chilling in that mushroom. It is going to be moved once again, and we do see the clone coming out onto Zunniyaki, just trying to shut him down for now. But once again, we do see the early mana advantage going to Dannycarey.
Yeah, again, and I think it's just there were the few times that they bursted down, Jahmilli, of course, at the beginning, has to use a lot of cooldowns as we look. And Starship, although all of his cooldowns are pretty much back up, of course, he is using that Ironbark almost on cooldown at this point. But, he does have his bash available.
This is the Demon Soul coming out here from Thug, and Zunniyaki was coiled off into the corner. He could be in a lot of trouble. He's got to disperse here. He's in Shadowrun range. Will they try to kill him through? No, they're going to hold onto those embers, or perhaps he had no embers left. I'm not sure, but that is the damage you have to look out for. And I mean, without those kind of immunity type abilities, you're dead there. So Disperse is gone. And they're going to have to be careful. One more time he gets caught like that could be the end for him. He's going to have to play very, very safe, I think, until that Disperse comes back up.
Now, you guys at home, if you're following along, when you see a unit frame highlighted on the left or right, that means 2 or more members from the enemy team are targeting. You can kind of follow along with, if they're going to go on to Zunniyaki and Jahmilli. Like right now, Jahmilli is targeted by both Novoz and Thug right now.
Yeah, so I mean, that is very, very useful to know. And Thugonomics is going to be the one taking a lot of damage. You can see him highlighted up right now. And the silence comes in onto Dannycarey. Devouring Plague goes out on Thug. He's getting very, very low, and the orb comes out. The Ember Taps are coming out here as well. The Blanket CS as well as that.
Plus a Cyclone Trinket.
Yeah, the Trinket is forced, so great job. But now, wow, that Havoc Chaos Bolt coming out, hitting both Jahmilli and Zunniyaki, chunking them down to about half HP. It looks like they're going to be okay for now. And Jahmilli did use his Icy Veins there as well as the Trinket with that orb, getting a lot of damage out. He had the Incanters popped as well. And, those modifiers, as they start to stack up for mages, that's really where the power comes from. You stack up all those modifiers and the numbers start to get insane.
Yeah, and Thug, of course, just saw that, he is playing double Trinket. He doesn't have that PvP Trinket, so that can be something that might play into the gameplay later. And also something to note, Dannycarey is not playing Heart of the Wild. He's playing Nature's Vigil. I saw him have it up, so that's interesting. That's a big gameplay decision for Dannycarey.
That is interesting. I think it kind of makes sense here, though. Trying to play it a little bit safer, keep his team alive so that they can stay offensive. And in Thugonomics, he doesn't have the PvP Trinket, but he is human, so he's going to have that from the racial, which is the advantage of being that alliance, and maybe why they win it. But we do see the Deep Freeze coming in onto Dannycarey, and they're trying to follow that up with the ring, but it's going to be interrupted by Novoz. A nice thunderstorm comes in, but there's just silence onto Novoz, the clone onto Thugonomics. And what are they going to try to get done here? I think they want to go for that burst, but not really too much happening working just yet from that. You know, in Starship, no trinket still. Coil comes out onto Zunniyaki. If they could get that fear out onto Starship, if they could get something going, perhaps they can get a kill. And the Shroom actually going to be popped there, it looked like. And Jahmilli taking a little bit of damage. KS Bolt coming out, but that's just going to kind of tickle him, as it was pre-Iron Barked, only doing about 50,
the Havoc,
60K.
They CC'd him through the entire Havoc. We see a trinket came out right when he had the Havoc up. So he could stay offensive, and then he was just polyed twice. So looks like we are going to see a Water Elemental being killed right now. Yep, that is dead. Jahmilli has not recast it quite yet. Might be on cooldown at this point. No, there he goes. He is trying to fake a little bit and recast it. Jahmilli feared away, kind of in the center, choosing to trinket right there, because Starship is going to be in a clone also. That Temporal Shield is going to provide a decent amount of healing, but not enough, as he is going to need to block.
Yeah, and I mean, temporal healing is quite strong, but it's, it's over time, and sometimes it's not going to be enough against that burst. So, wasn't sure he could survive it, going to use the block, playing it a little bit safe. And sometimes that's what you have to do against this team. You just can't underestimate their burst, but at the same time, you use those cooldowns a little bit too liberally, and they can make you pay later. Iron Bark going to come out there. Jahmilli just going to be blinking back behind the pillar, trying to play it safe here, going for the MCS poly now. The Deep Freeze comes out onto the healer, and now the poly is going to follow that up, as it was swapped over from Novoz. He's going to be feared off though by Thugonomics. MCS comes out, or rather Silence comes out on Novoz, and Thugonomics going to get hit with a Devouring Plague. The bash comes out onto a Dannycarey, but Thugonomics really, it looks like he's going to be okay. There's no dots really being able to put out there from Zunniyaki. I'm not sure if he mind spiked them off or if he just couldn't get them, but just not enough follow up there. And Jahmilli going to be pushed back once again here. They're just going to kind of wait it out a little bit, wait till those cooldowns are back up, and probably go in once again. Yeah,
and there we go. Now we see the Demon Soul popped again. Nice sprint to get Thug right back into the fight. We saw KS Bolt without the Demon Soul earlier not do very much to Jahmilli, but look at all this crowd control onto Thug. Wasn't able to do anything with that Demon Soul.
Yeah, I mean, it's the life of a Destro Lock, man. But you only need to get it off once sometimes. That's the thing. It can be extremely frustrating to play, especially against cleave teams, but he plays it so much. He's obviously used to this, and he's going to be going for that KS Bolt onto Jahmilli. The MCS comes out. Jahmilli can't blink out of there. Nice MCS coming in. The Iron Bar goes up though, and that should be enough. I think Thug did fake that CS, not positive, but he is going to be sheeped up off of that. And it's one of those things. Everyone got used to Demon Soul, and it's just anytime a Destro Lock pops Demon Soul, the whole team is just yelling Demon Soul, Demon Soul, Demon Soul, and they start CCing you, and it's very, very tough against these good teams to get that damage off. But sometimes there's nothing you can do to prevent it, as the cross CC can be there.
So we see the Devouring Plague coming out on a Novoz, who is going to be the target of both Jahmilli and Zunniyaki, but plus a Silence on top of Zunniyaki, so not going to be able to do too much to help out the burst. Capacitor Totem did not land on Zunniyaki right there. I thought it was going to.
And I mean, Jahmilli blocked again there. He did get a huge heal from Starship, but he just did not feel confident to survive the damage that was in the air. I mean, there was a lava burst coming in the air, and he just didn't know if he could survive it. So he's going to throw out that block with 2 blocks down in pretty quick succession. So they are kind of working through those cooldowns. And there's no trinket onto Starship, so Jahmilli could be in a bit of trouble next time he gets caught. I'm not sure that he would have gone down there, because he did catch a huge heal, but that's so hard to know when the heal is going to land versus when the damage is going to land. So it's one of those things, you just have to make those calls, because if you get in Shadow range, the game is over. And I mean, I think that we might see them playing extra defensive now without those blocks. I'm not sure on the cooldown timing for his cold snap. Looks like it's up in 30, so in 30 seconds he'll have another block, and he'll probably just cold snap just to get that up immediately.
All right, so Novoz is going to be the target of choice right now. As you can see, Dannycarey on the far right of your screen just still playing. Oh, Ascendant's coming out. Looks like they are going to try to put some damage as that Demon Soul comes out from Thug. Lots of damage onto Jahmilli, and the Chaos Bolt domes him right as Starship is cycloned. That was a great job setting up that kill. Like we were saying, no block.
That's it, man. I mean, that's all it takes. And Blacksmith Hammer equipped, they're going to take it 2-0 over Juice.